Welcome to Choreography, a podcast about the greatest sport on ice, figure skating. I'm Wendy Buskey.
And I'm Adrian Buskey, and this time we will be talking about Skate America 2025, an event that definitely happened in gorgeous but seemingly not densely populated Lake Placid, New York.
I will point out, I have been to Lake Placid, New York once many, many moons ago to go to a Stars on Ice, which was amazing and idyllic. It is so beautiful, but it is really a little bit of a pain to get to.
It does look absolutely gorgeous.
It's stunning.
I think it was also snowy, and people might have been going home in a snowstorm after the events.
No.
So that's probably not great. This event, I think this is interesting because normally Skate America starts off the Grand Prix, and usually this is around the time we'd get Finlandia.
Finlandia, or in different seasons, like Cup of China.
Often that would be referred to as Cup of Chaos, because that would be the point in time where like some really oddball placements would happen on podiums.
And people are getting a little tired.
Right. You'd have fairly erratic kind of skates. And instead, this year, Skate America ends up being the sort of Cup of Chaos kind of event. There were several times I had to resist calling it Skate Flaccid, because there were just moments here. There's some really great stuff, but man, particularly if you look at the men's event is a complete mess. And
I'm still not over that, but okay.
Whereas like the women were great, and
the women's event was awesome.
Was interesting, and pairs was all
fine.
Right. Yeah. So why don't we start with the highlights?
That's a great idea.
Which I think is also kind of what it capped off with the women. And yeah, let's just start with our now actually a Grand Prix gold medalist, as well as our reigning world champion, Alyssa Liu, in the women's division.
Yes. Alyssa Liu finally winning her first gold medal on the Grand Prix, a Skate America win. Great for her. I will admit, I thought she was fantastic here, but I might have given the edge to the silver medalist, Rinka Watanabe. They were super close. In the final score, it looks a little like a slightly wider gap. There's about 3.5 points separating them. And Alyssa, I mean, I love that she's a gold medalist. I love this woman. She is incredible. This is no ill on her. I think she did great. But Rinka landed 2 triple axels, one in the short and one in the long. The second one, the one in the long, with a triple toe on the end of it. I don't know. Kind of feel like maybe it should have been at least a little bit closer.
I have really mixed feelings on it, because on one level, I would have loved to have seen Rinka on top of that podium. I'm completely excited to see Alyssa Liu there. I think in the replay on Rinka, you could see that there were quite a number, and on her free skate, there were quite a number of cues and under rotations. And I think she actually got away with at least one under rotation and an additional cue. Going back and rewatching it, as much as I really loved her performances, and yes, I mean, she did land a couple of triple axels. I mean, she landed 2 of them in the free, except for one of them didn't get all the way around.
Right. One was under rotated and she fell out of.
Yeah. But the other 2, the one on the short, one on the long, did both look terrific. And there's a lot to be said for that. But I think that her overall skate quality wasn't as high. Her overall performance quality wasn't as high as Alyssa's.
Sure.
Even though she did win the short program.
With a personal best, which is great.
Yeah, with a 74.35, which is really strong. And this is Rinka, making her case for being a part of that Japanese women contingent. And I think this is a really important step for her. But it is kind of unfortunate that she fell out of that top spot. But Alyssa skated 2 absolutely fantastic programs, and she was far more secure in the free than Rinka was.
Sure. And she did have a few called under rotations as well.
Sure.
And she even pointed out herself in the press conference that she wasn't thrilled with her jumping here, even though to the naked eye, it looked clean. It wasn't. And she knew that. And it was called out. So I appreciated that. But yeah, you're not wrong. The performance value of Alyssa cannot be denied. The woman is electric. The audience freaking out by the end of it was totally warranted. Her short program continues to be mesmerizing, as I think Ted called it, which it's the right word. She creates something really special each time she skates that one. And it's very close. And regardless of the placements, it was a great competition because the top 5 women here were all fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If I was really switching things around, I think that I would have had the third place finisher, Anastasia Gubanova, actually in fourth. She just barely squeaked out Italy's Laura Naki-Gutman.
It was so close.
It was very, very close. There was a lot of moving around here in the standings because Laura was in third after the short program, brilliant in the short. And it really came down to her doubling a triple. So she did like a double combination that I think is really the differentiator for why Georgia's Gubanova took that third place spot. And Goobs did a fantastic job. She was really good here.
She's lovely.
The Bollywood program looks great on her. You can tell she's having so much fun with it. She's obviously so invested in that ghost free skate, and it really keeps her attached to the program in a way that we don't always see from her. We've talked about that previously in the season. And it was kind of a toss-up. I think you could have gone either way. Laura Naki-Gutman's, particularly her Jaws free skate, just really hits for me.
Oh,
I
it's
like
so
it
special.
a ton. I think it becomes one of those kind of matter of preference kind of moments as far as who you would have rather seen in there based on their overall skate quality. It could have gone either way. And even as it was, I think Laura got a personal best.
She did.
A personal best overall score, and I think a personal best in the short program as well.
Yep.
So she had a very, very good competition. It's just unfortunate that she slid out of that bronze position and didn't get herself another Grand Prix podium.
As much as I love that Jaws program, I'm almost starting to love the short more. It's so good.
I feel you on that. That was something I thought about at this one too, where I was a little slower to get into that one early part of the season, and now it really hits. Even to me, occasionally just hearing that little thing in my head once in a while. This is one of those cases where like all 4 of your top 4 women skated really nicely, but all had little problems here and there. I think that Gubanova's free was just so clean overall that it really just allowed her to edge out Laura Naki-Gutman. But I do think it ended up being a very nice podium. But I think if there's going to be a memorable performance from this entire event, it's probably the 5th place finisher, America's Star Andrews.
I don't think it's probably. I think it is absolutely 100% the performance of the entire competition. Her short program was fantastic, maybe one of the best I've ever seen her do. And that free skate, it was magic. Like you could feel the energy from the crowd, hear them getting excited maybe 30 seconds before it was done. She doesn't have the technical content of those 4 women ahead of her, but holy cow, was she brilliant. And again, she is skating to her own voice. She's actually singing the song in the second half of her free skate. Her voice is gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I love it.
It's so beautiful. And you could just see the emotion she brought to it. And I loved hearing Ted, the ISU commentator, talking about it because you could feel his emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Like that he was kind of overcome by how much the blending of the vocal artistry with the physical artistry that she's performing in her skating was just something so unique and lovely. And I don't know, I don't have enough words for it. I was just really overcome by how beautiful it was.
Yeah, I'm going to say this was really a Star Andrews kind of weekend because we got several things here. Star delivered 2 absolutely fantastic highlight reel performances, probably the highlight of the competition in general. You also had her sing the national anthem at the event, and she announced that after this season, she is, as kind of expected, retiring from single skating, but she's planning on moving into pairs.
I am so excited to see Star Andrews pairs girly. Holy cow.
Yeah, that was not on my bingo card. I had no idea that was coming. Maybe the fact that she's been dating Luke Wang and maybe just hanging out with the pairs people has introduced her to this whole new aspect. But she's got the right jump combo. She's got the right cell. She's the right physical size. I think like just in general, it makes a lot more sense. I just never considered it.
No, and she said in the interview she gave about it that she's been approached about it many times, actually, because of the way, you know, her size, like in terms of her height, she's like the exact right height for a pairs girl. And, you know, she has that, like you said, the triple toe, the triple loop, consistent double axles. Like she has all the check marks. It's just a matter of now learning how to do all of the pairs elements that are extremely hard. But like you said, I wonder how much she's already kind of learning since she's palling around a lot with the pairs people, and I'm curious. I can't wait to see it, but I'm also really excited that we do get a few more competitions to enjoy her as a singles skater.
Yeah, absolutely terrific. Something we haven't really talked about so far is just scores. So let's just do a little bit of a rundown here. Alyssa Liu wins this with a 2:14.27. Very nice score at this point in the season. We know that's quite a ways behind what Kari Sakamoto racked up last week, but still a very, very strong score.
But she has a lot of room to, like, her ceiling is much higher.
Absolutely, considering that she was in second after the short program, and we know that she had a couple of under rotations in the free. Like, there is a lot of room for this to be bigger. And of course, these are the programs that she won Worlds with last year. So we know how big and explosive they can be. Ringo Watanabe comes in with a 2:10.96, so less than 4 points behind her. In the short program, it was a razor thin margin between her and Alyssa to begin with. She did take third in the free behind Gabanova, which I think is kind of an interesting thing.
I thought that was questionable.
By 0.01, I think. It was something like minuscule. But Gabanova comes in with a 2:04.69, and Laurinaki Gutman comes in with a 2:04.29. So all four of the top four are over 200. And that is a really nice thing to see.
It is.
Particularly when we go to the men's and see kind of how abysmal the scoring was over there. This is a great outcome in the women's side of things. And Starr got a 195.28, which I don't know if it is a personal best for her. I guess not.
But it's a great score for her.
Yeah,
though.
absolutely fantastic. And I do think it's worth noting the sixth place finish of Cheon Kim with a 188.22, because Cheon has really been struggling this season. These are season's best that she got here. You could tell she wasn't satisfied with the score that she got in the free program, but she is looking more like herself than we have seen for a while.
Absolutely. And that alone is really encouraging, since we know there is just this very tight race for those two spots for the Olympics for Korea. So, I mean, between Cheon Kim ending up sixth here, Haein Lee was eighth. And yeah, last week we saw Young Yu place fourth at NHK Trophy. So,
and barely get edged off the podium there.
Exactly. And then we're not even talking about Jia Shin. So I'm happy to just see this progress from Cheon. I think that gives me some solid hope for her.
When we go down the rest of the list here, you see a seventh place finish from Leah Serna from France. I think that's actually kind of a surprisingly high placement for her. But I think she had a pretty nice free skate here that brought her up in the standings a little bit. I did think it was kind of weird that the audience at the event really gave her a very tepid response. But she's not a very exciting skater, but it was a pretty good skate for her. And then I think you just mentioned Haein Lee from Korea gets into eighth. She did bring back her Carmen free skate.
Yeah, and I wonder if everyone wasn't given that note, because Ted announced it as the program she had gone back to of
the Notre
Dame program. And I saw the dress. I'm like, that's not right. And then Carmen begins. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Ted, the ISU. So I will note, we watched this on the ISU feeds. We have Peacock. We tried to watch the NBC feeds and gave up on them within minutes and went back to the ISU.
Yeah.
As much as I love Johnny and Tara and Terry, they just talk too much. I say this as a podcaster and a person who talks too much, but it was just like nonstop. Like, we got watching them, and between the commercial breaks and them not showing the replays and just the constant commentary, I've gotten so used to the ISU commentators who leave a lot more space in and a lot of times they're solo. And so that's part of it. You know, it's not like a dialogue between three people, but I've gotten used to being able to just enjoy the program without somebody constantly stream of consciousnessing data at me. I get that's a great way to kind of learn if you're not familiar with the sport.
Exactly.
But I think that it becomes a little redundant sometimes for people who are more familiar. So the ISU feed definitely feels like the way to go. And we still have to VPN in order to watch it that way. But anyway, I do think that Ted several times had outdated information.
Yes.
Because he did say the wrong names of programs multiple times. In this case, it just seemed like she just feels like Hayen's been kind of swapping it back and forth.
She's testing it out to see which ones work.
Yeah,
so
but unfortunately, it seems like that's kind of killed a little bit of her momentum, because she was doing better in the earlier part of the season, and it has not worked really well for her on the Grand Prix.
I did like seeing a improved Hana Yoshida. She landed a slightly under-rotated triple axel, but she landed it in her free. And just in general, like, I thought her Kill Bill program, it wasn't perfect, but it was better. And I mean, that program is so much fun.
Yeah.
And I am waiting for that perfect version of it. But this was much closer. So I was happy to see that. She still needs to bring back some of that consistency that she has throughout her, especially her free programs have just been not working out. But regardless, I'm just happy to see baby steps back towards.
Yeah. Again, it's kind of like Cheon, just a little closer to the baseline of what we'd like to see them at.
Yes. Really emotional skate for Ekaterina Korakova, especially in her free skate. She landed in 10th here. You could see that she was a little disappointed in her scores, but she was so happy at the end of her performance. The crowd ate her up like they always do. She is a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, I mean, Kurakova is a performer. She's lovely on the ice. Like, she interprets things so well. You know, the jumps just don't often work for her. And it's a shame because I've seen her practice videos where I see her landing triples over and over again, and she can make it happen there, and it just doesn't happen in competition. And the judges just don't always seem to appreciate her, but crowds do, and sometimes that's what matters. I think the real shame of this competition is seeing last year's Skate America victor land in 11th here with Japan's Wakaba Higuchi.
I am heartbroken for Wakaba, especially after her free skate. Her short program wasn't perfect, but it was still strong. And at the end of it, you could feel her relief. And again, the crowd just embracing her like a warm hug. And she was beautiful. The free skate just went awry. Honestly, we were watching a replay, not live, and I had seen enough online already to know what was going to happen that I couldn't watch it. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And because I was like, I've already seen the tears on like social media, and I was just, I don't know, I was so devastated for her that I just couldn't even see it. And because I love her, and it's gutting. It is genuinely gutting.
I did watch it, and it was difficult. We know that she's fighting a hip injury and that a lot of things hurt right now. And seeing her pop and double jumps all over the place in that program and take a fall, it's terribly unfortunate for somebody that we really would love to see go to the Olympics with the Japan team. And right now it just isn't coming together. And I really like that Wonder Woman free skate that she has, although I do think that it kind of misuses the most intense part of the music, where there's this really kind of metal sequence and there's not a lot happening in that section of it. And I do think that's a bit unfortunate. But Wakaba is such a gift of a skater, and it's just a shame that this didn't work out as well as we would hope for. I'm really just hoping that maybe she gets a little downtime now to heal and then come back stronger in the second half.
Well, she's got a month until Japanese nationals. So my hope is she takes at least a week to do absolutely nothing and just recover and hopefully relieve some of that pain in some way. And I don't know that a week is nearly enough, but fingers crossed, but we shall see. But it was really hard. I do want to give a special shout to Josephine Lee, who is just coming up from juniors officially, finally. She's such a lovely talent. She's a young skater landing in last year. I'm sure it's not what you want ever, but for her at the level she's at right now, I thought it was just a great experience for her to get to be here. She's a skater of the future. She is not this quadrennial. She is next quadrennial.
You know, very few skaters coming out of juniors get to be Ami Nakai, get to walk in and make it to the Grand Prix final and win gold and stuff like that. It doesn't happen very often.
She is a unicorn.
In any event, it's just a great thing that she got to be here, and she seemed pretty happy with her performances overall.
Let's move on to the pairs event, where I think it ended up being what we would have expected, which is Japan's Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara taking the title pretty handily, but it didn't start out that way. And I feel like this is where that whole reference to Cup of Chaos comes back into play.
Yeah, I mean, this event gets really chaotic. It's all over the place. So Riku and Ryuichi, they were in second after the short program, 74-42, pretty solid, not a perfect skate. They were doing okay.
She made a significant error in doubling the side-by-sides.
Right. We've definitely seen them better than this season in both programs.
Yes.
And that painted black short program is one of my favorite things in pairs this season. I absolutely love it. It's so good. And it was just not quite as stellar this time, not quite as on. In the free, they were stronger and overall looked pretty good. I think that, again, Riku had maybe one problem in a side-by-side.
I think so. Yeah, in the combination, it didn't look quite right. And
yeah.
I mean, in general, it was just a little messy. It wasn't bad. It was still very, very strong. I mean, they got a 140-157 in that free. It was strong.
Yeah.
It was just not as crisp and clean as they can be.
Right. They could definitely be better. And a 215.99 is still a very strong score, still nice stuff. But, the big thing here is that they were up against Anastasia Metelkina and Luka Berilava from Georgia. And so far this season, the Georgian team has been so strong and so steady. And I think that a lot of people have been looking at the season where you have Miran Kihara, Hassan Volodin, Stellato Dudek and Deschamps, and Metelkina and Berlava as sort of your kind of like
Conti and
Machi and Sway and Han, right? Like there's a heated up kind of race overall as far as like who might really be viable here. But Metelkina and Berlava just keep getting stronger. And when they're on, they're extraordinary. Like they have incredible quality in their pairs elements that are pretty amazing to watch. And here in the short program, we saw that. I mean, they got a 78.83 personal best in their short. Every element of that felt like it was
spectacular.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it was really, really well done. Their free skate, however, was kind of scary at times. At first, it started with more traditional mess ups. Anastasia fell on one of her side-by-sides. Luka stepped out of another. So already right there, they were probably out of the gold medal spot because it was close enough between them and Riku and Ryu. And they had already skated so brilliantly that you could sort of check the box of like, okay, even if you're perfect from here on out, probably silver. But then it got worse. And there were a few places, again, you mentioned like how stellar they are in the pairs elements, and they are, but I'm getting really worried about Luka in the lifts.
His footwork, once you start paying attention to it, like you start to realize it's not nearly as steady when he's in the revolutions during the lifts. There's something about the way he's moving his blade off the ice that doesn't feel as secure.
Like his toe picks are coming up.
Right. Yeah. It's a little worrying, and he doesn't look quite as on balance. And here, I think one of the lifts, I mean, they blew a lift for one thing.
Entirely.
They totally lost one. And it was just failure to launch.
It was bad timing.
It was hard to tell if it was one or both of them that caused it to happen, but it literally did not happen. And you could see anytime that happens to a pairs team, when a lift fails, it shakes them up because it throws off your choreo, your timing just goes to pieces. It's a difficult thing to recover from. And you could see them be kind of shell shocked by it. And when the program ended, Luka just like slapped his forehead in disbelief. I do think it's worth noting that I think it happened in practice. I didn't actually see it, but I saw people talk about it. It was either in the practice earlier that day or maybe in the warm-up. They were practicing the triple twist, and Anastasia came down kind of at the wrong angle and caught Luka in the face with her arm. And you can see when they take the ice for the free skate that he has a big mark and what looks like the start of a bruise on his face from that impact. And I got to imagine that's a little hard to shake off on competition day, especially when you're going in first place. So you've got that extra pressure on you. So it feels like people will say, what a difference a day makes, right? Sometimes that means that somebody has a bad short program and then kills it in the free. In an instance like this, it's like they were absolutely dominant in the short program, and then in the free skate, it just completely crumbles. But we have seen this is a little bit of a pattern from the Georgians. When we would see them still competing on the junior Grand Prix circuit and at Junior Worlds, even after they had entered into seniors in a significant fashion, there's one of their Junior Worlds events where they looked like this. They looked this bad and still won because they were light years against the rest of the teams because it felt like adults competing against children. It was kind of an awkward difference between them and their competitors. But it's unfortunate that this just seems to be the thing that kind of happens with this team sometimes, because they can be utterly brilliant, but when something goes wrong, everything goes wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. When they have a big mistake, it usually kind of multiplies. So it wasn't shocking. I think it was only shocking because of how steady they have been so far this season. So it did feel kind of out of nowhere whenever it seems like they were in the zone so far.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have a bad day. And I think that if something goes wrong at a practice where you take a hit to the face, it changes how you might attack the entire day. But yeah, it was unfortunate, but they still ended up in silver. There are more than 20, a shade more than 20 points behind Riku and Ryuichi though. So after having had that personal best in the short program, that is a real shakeup for them. I'll be very curious to see how they bounce back from this.
That said, they did, with that silver, secure their spot at the Grand Prix final along with Riku and Ryu. So they're going to get another chance in just a few weeks to come back. And I expect them to.
The surprise placement here, though, in the bronze position is Canada's Kellyanne Larin and Lucas Ete. This is a team that I was kind of surprised to be reminded had actually been on the podium at a Grand Prix, maybe
At Skate
at Skate
America.
America in the 2022 season, like
Yes.
right after the Olympics. That was probably our very first episode.
I think it was, which is probably why we have forgotten.
Right, yes. Because I do think that was the first episode of Choreography we did on that one. But this is a team that they are, they're kind of third tier in general.
In Canada, for sure.
And we've seen them have a lot of rough skates. We've seen them have kind of like, middle of the road kind of skates. Here, their short program was pretty decent. I think they were happy with it
solid.
overall. But their free skate was really nice. It was very
great.
crowd pleasing. There's a moment in that free skate that I really loved. It was right before their last thrown triple. And as Lucas loads Kellyanne up and gets ready to toss her, there's a look on her face. She gives this smile like she's excited right beforehand. And I was like, oh, she already knew she was going to land this. She's not even in the air and she already knows it's going to land. And that's what you want to see, right?
Yeah.
When somebody knows that the skate is going well, and in that moment, you have that sense of flow where like this is all working. And I don't know that I've ever seen Lucas kind of get emotional after a skate before, but that was like the first time where I saw him legitimately have that like overcome a bit. And the Skate America audience, they really gave them a great response. And them getting that placement here, when you think about how like Leah Pereira and Trent Michaud, who are the second tier team in Canada, have not managed to get on that podium this season and had some pretty difficult struggles on the Grand Prix so far. Kellyanne and Lucas locking one here, and not for the Grand Prix final, but
just a medal.
But just getting a medal.
It's great.
That's a solid move for them. And they got a 182.87. I think they got a personal best in the free skate, as they should have. They're well back from the leaders, but they're on that podium. They go home with hardware. So that's what matters.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for them. Not too far behind them, only about 2.5 points behind. The U.S.'s Emily Chan and Spencer Howe. I thought they did a solid job. I mean, it wasn't as amazing as I'm sure that they had hoped. And I mean, it's got to be a little bit of a burn to be in Skate America in front of a home audience and be so close to that podium and not make it. But I don't think they've known for very long that they were going to be here and get their second Grand Prix placement.
It was originally supposed to be Audrey Shin and Balazs Naj.
Yeah.
And I think that Audrey and Balazs knew all along that that was kind of a
temporary hold.
Like a hold. Like they didn't know if that was going to go to them or not. So I don't think it came as a surprise that they got shifted for it. I don't know why that choice was made that way. The thing I think is kind of weird, though, is that if you look at those scores, that 182.87 for the Canadians and then 180.02 for Chan and Howe, you would think that those performances were a lot closer. But if you go back and like watch Chan and Howe's free skate, it's a lot messier. Like
much messier.
Than the Canadians is way stronger.
But to be fair, Emily and Spencer were ahead of them
right.
in the short program.
Right.
So I think that's where it really balances out. But I also think Emily and Spencer are a more well-rounded team in terms of what their speed, their kind of performance value
For
is.
sure. Yeah.
And they emoted so beautifully in both their programs to the audience. Like I thought their performance value was better here
Certainly.
than I've seen in a while. It wasn't terrible skates. I think I'm seeing the progress continuing with them. I know they're still on that comeback trail. I mean, they have been top 6 in the world before, and it's been a struggle for the past few seasons for them. So we just keep inching closer and closer to that U.S. Nationals where Paris is anybody's game at this point, it feels like. So especially with all of the question marks around not only Olympic placements, but citizenship issues, it's like Paris is just wild to me right now. And regardless, for Emily and Spencer, this is a solid step forward towards that nationals where I know they're hoping to get one of those 2 spots.
And I think when you go to like the 5th and 6th spots, this is where you see teams that did really well in the short program and then had disaster free skates.
Yeah.
Germany's Haken Kunkel were in the 3rd place position after their short and looked really strong, and then just had a complete mess of a free that, I mean, Annika is like one of the most cheerful people in the sport, and her face at the end of it was like so out of character for her because she was so frustrated with what had happened and
stunned.
And I think trying to just diagnose why it all broke down the way that it did. And you look at the Armenian team, Akapova and Rachmanin, they landed in 6th. They were 7th in the free because that was just like
that was completely
total
disastrous.
Collapse.
I've never seen some of the things that happened to them, like that fall on the spin.
It felt like Karina, after they had a mistake about halfway through the free, it looked like she sort of disconnected. There's just every once in a while you'll see a skater get that kind of deer in the headlights look where they're moving along by a muscle memory, but their brain is fully detached. And in that moment, I just felt like Karina didn't quite know where she was. And when they went into their final spin, their blades just kind of got crossed over. To me, it looked like she just kind of put her foot in the wrong place and sort of lost her balance, and it just took his foot. She basically swept his leg.
Like yeah, Nikita just went down.
Yeah, and they handled it with really good humor afterwards, and which I appreciate. It was a very different kiss and cry from, say, Hakan Konkel, who looked fairly devastated and were essentially apologizing. I've never seen Robert with that face before, you know?
No.
But both of those teams just had complete disasters in the free, and there was so much not ready for prime time kind of stuff. It was a thing that I kept thinking, especially as we're about to go into men's.
The most chaotic.
Yeah. The way that the event was set up, it felt like they put the men's events in like the prime time spaces, but without prime time
without Ilya Malinin or Yuma Kageyama.
Yeah.
But with Mikhail Shidorov, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I do want to give special props, though, to Valentina Plazas and Maximiliano Fernandez, who just came back from a long period away because of Maximiliano's injury. So good to just see them here. They were 7th, not their best performances, but they're just getting back on the ice. So hooray to just see them.
Yeah, it's just great to see Val and Max again. Yeah, because it's been a long time and it's good to have them back.
And Olivia Flores and Luke Wang rounded out in 8th place. Not their placement that I'm sure they would love to see, but regardless, this is experience points for them.
Yeah, same as Joey Lee in the last event. This is just a great thing to get into the senior Grand Prix and just like starting to build that experience.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we just mentioned the chaotic men's event. So yeah, let's move on to that because I am thrilled with the podium, but good grief, what a mess it was.
So Kevin Amos wins this. And
hooray. Kevin Amos, if there is somebody who should have a Skate America gold medal around his neck, it is Kevin Amos.
Kevin has gotten silver the last 2 years at Skate America. 2 years ago, he did it with Bolero right before his season completely collapsed and he had this just absolute disaster year. And then he was there last year, as were we, and we got to see him live, and he was like revelatory. He was absolutely fantastic
and the crowd,
at that event.
Oh, we all just like, if you can just imagine that physical feeling of a hug being shared with somebody who's on the ice, that's what the entire crowd did with Kevin Amos there.
He had 3 standing ovations at that event for both of the competition events and at the gala
exhibition
there last year. So understandably, Kevin Amos has a soft spot in his heart for Skate America because that's the event that seems to go well for him. And even though this one wasn't in Allen, Texas, it went even better for him, sort of, in the sense sort of, because performance-wise, not so much. He was well behind what he did last year when we saw him in Allen, Texas. However, he does go home with the gold.
Exactly. Like, yes, his short program, a 93.56, good solid score, best of the season for him so far. You could tell that he fought his way through it and it looked great.
And this is still Kevin coming back from injury.
Yes.
He's not 100%. When we saw him last time, he was really having a rough time of it because he had very little on ice prep in coming back from injury. So he didn't come into this with a whole lot of expectation before the short program because he's just rebuilding. But yeah, he did really well in that. And I really do like that Gaga program a lot.
It's great. It is so good. His free skate to Bolero, again, the reconstructed Bolero, looked okay. I think that he held it together is, I guess, the best way to put it. Like, it wasn't terrible. He didn't fall apart. He held it together as much as he could. But like you said, he's still coming back from more time off the ice, and he did not look as solid as he can.
The conditioning isn't there. The program was slow. Bolero is a tough piece of music when there's not a lot going on in your choreography because it is repetitive, like that music kind of circles around itself numerous times. And typically with Kevin, that doesn't matter because he's
just builds and builds with him.
Right. And in this one, you felt him be very measured through the entire program and then just like crank it to 11 in the last 15 seconds. So he leaves a strong impression because of that, but the overall program is not what we have seen from him before.
It didn't have the electricity that he usually does. Like when he is on and selling that program, you don't feel that lull. And then this one you did a bit, but regardless, still fantastic. And if nothing else, it gave us one of the best kiss and cry moments we've seen in a while, where he finally figured out that he was on that podium and squealed over and over again. It was just adorable.
You can count on Kevin to have big reactions.
I love it.
And he had many of them here. He was in tears after the short, freaking out after the free, definitely freaking out because he was in second after the short program. So, he was not the final skater. I think that he just thought he was going to get a silver and he was hyped. He does win this thing with a 2:53.53. That is a very low score for a Grand Prix event in men's. We've seen this score take podiums in the Challenger Series, but usually when you have competitors that are further back in the overall kind of ranking. And after we've seen several Grand Prix won with scores in the 300s and really terrific performances.
I mean, we've seen a few, and they're just from Ilya Malinin in the 300s this season.
Oh, sure. But also if you look at Yuma Kagiyama and Shin Sato, they're not quite getting to that high.
270s, 280s, 290s in that zone.
Yeah, they're getting very close to that. And so when you're like 50 points back from that kind of 300 threshold, it feels a lot softer. But
yes,
the person we would have expected to be the top of the podium here is Kazakhstan's Mikhail Shidorov. He's our reigning world silver medalist. And last year, notably, he had a slow build as he figured out his programs and really got them all sorted out by the time that he hit 4 continents and then rolled into worlds with a lot of momentum and looked great there.
Yeah.
So far this season, it hasn't been that strong. And to my mind, the big problem is that his free skate just isn't very good.
Yeah.
It's a Fifth Element free skate, and I think I get what they were going for with it, but the choice of music, the way that it's edited, the choreography, I don't know what's happening in it, but he just doesn't look like he quite knows where he's at.
He doesn't.
The music is grating in a lot of it.
And he just doesn't look like Misha.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep saying when I'm watching his short program and his free. I like his short program more than I like his free skate. I think the short program is fine. I think it's just cleaning up some of the issues he's having here and there and just getting more comfortable with the choreography. And that program will be great. No problems. It's when you watch that free skate and he's not the most graceful skater. He's gotten a lot better in terms of his interpretation, but he still can read really stiff unless he is really into it. And last year's program was miraculous. He just, over the course of the season, just kept getting better and better and more intense. And you could tell that he was in the character. He really wanted to be. And even the year before in his Matrix program, he wanted to be in character. He was intense. I am worried that he is having, you can't really call it a sophomore slump, but it's like the post world medal slump of he has way more pressure on him now. He is like a hero of Kazakhstan. Yeah. Every skate he has is highly anticipated on the scene right now, leading into the Olympics. So it's like you can feel the pressure on him and you only see his expressions, like the faces you've come to understand as what Mikhail Shidorov looks like. It's not there in his skating right now, and it makes me worried about him. He's good, and I love him, and I want to see him enjoying himself, and I'm not seeing that.
I think when Mikhail is strongest, he enters into this flow state where sometimes he does seem to kind of go away a little bit. It happened at Worlds where when he finished the program, it's almost like he snapped back and was just like, almost, I don't know what just happened, you know? Whatever that flow state is, he doesn't seem to be finding it, especially in that program. And he was third after the short. And
he didn't have really big mistakes. Like when I had seen, again, we were watching replays this time, not live, and I had seen he was in third. So I just expected there'd be bigger errors, and there wasn't. So I was like, okay, it's very telling with him because he can get close to 100 with his short program, and he got an 89.67. And like you said, he's not hitting that flow. He's a little slower. Like when he gets those big combinations, like the first combination in his free skate, that incredible triple axel Euler quad cell is 21 points
it's huge.
By itself.
Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
It's insane. And it's incredible. And it looked gorgeous. But that's it. Yes, he has these big jumps that are gorgeous, but what has started making him isn't there right now. And without it, I feel like he's still, with the technical ability that he has, if he's clean, he is still going to be in the mix for Olympic and world medals and Grand Prix final, podium.
Sure.
But that extra spark that's going to really put him up against Ilya, Yuma, Shunsato, Adam Shohanfa on the right day, if they are all, by some miracle, all clean, he's not going to beat them.
And he still has those weaknesses in some of his other elements, like his spins.
Yeah.
He loses a lot of levels in those places. And when his skating looks like it did here, he's just not going to get those performance marks. And
no.
So, he only comes in 2.5 points behind Kevin.
And he wins the free skate.
Yeah, he does win the free, but he wins it with a program I really don't like. And I hate saying it because I adore Misha. I think he's wonderful, but this Fifth Element program, it's not it.
I desperately want him to go back to Dune or to the Matrix, even just something else.
Yeah, I would throw that one away and go to something else. But I know with the Grand Prix final in 3 weeks, that's not a lot of time to make a change like that. But I don't know what the strategy is there, but that program doesn't work.
No.
I love that we got Japan's Kazuki Tomono on the podium here. It is a shame that it's in third because he was first after the short, and his short program was fabulous.
Best of the event. Best skate of the entire men's event, short or long. Period. End of story. Incredible.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal. His free skate, unfortunately, had the same pattern we've seen before, where it's Kazuki comes out, his first 2 jumps don't work, and then he kind of has to chase the jumps the rest of the program. And similar to what we're talking about with Misha, in a way, I don't know that this free program works. It's gorgeous. It is much, much more of a refined, beautiful piece than what Misha has.
I think it's too delicate.
I agree. It's like his short program just fits his personality and his skating style so well. And I know you don't want to do the same type of program, short and long, but I also feel like this free skate is just a little softer. And while I love seeing that, and he can definitely do a delicate program, he is such a versatile skater. I don't know, it hasn't worked quite yet. And I love Kazuki, and I know I'm probably just on repeat too much about that, like how much I adore him. But it is frustrating when it's like, I know you could have won this. He could have definitely won this. Whenever he finally went on the ice to skate, it would have taken less than his best this season even to take this. And he just couldn't do it. And it just made me very sad for him.
Sometimes you just see a skater or a team that are not used to skating last in the free and having that pressure of being in the lead. That felt like the case with Kazuki. It just felt like he wasn't quite up to the pressure of that moment, even as not particularly fantastic as the 2 guys were like right ahead of him. Like you said, he didn't even have to hit a season's best to take it home. And it just came apart in the free. Not horrifically.
Not at all.
Well, I guess maybe it could be said it was horrifically because he was actually 8th in the free and still got on the podium.
Yeah, that's fair. It might have been worse than we're wanting to believe. But that gives you a
sense of what the scores were like here, because he was 8th in the free and still was bronze because he was strong enough in the short program, and the rest of the men weren't doing all that well here that he was able to hold on to that podium place. It's kind of crazy. He gets a 2:45.57 total that keeps him on the podium, and that's still 6 points ahead of the 4th place Jason Brown.
And Jason Brown here, I appreciated hearing him talk after his skates, because Jason Brown was 5th in the short, 3rd in the free, actually, And he looked good. Not great, though, and had enough mistakes in terms of under rotation issues and doubling a jump here and there. It just wasn't Jason. And I heard a few people say, including I think Jackie Wong was one of them, he didn't look as fast and didn't have like the coverage that he usually has. Like, and when you know how good Jason is, it's like you can tell when he's just not quite as good as he can be. He's still brilliant, and the crowd ate him up. He still got standing ovations.
Of course.
The performance value was still 100% there. He still gave everything to them. But I appreciated him talking about his own frustration. It's not unusual for Jason not to have his best scores on the Grand Prix. We've seen it before. I mean, he got, like you said, a 239.59 here. I think he's 20 points lower than his season's best, somewhere in that neighborhood right now. So it doesn't worry me. I am not at all worried. I'm mostly just, I am frustrated for him because I know those aren't the skates he wanted.
Also, a person who didn't get the skates they wanted was Italy's Daniel Grassel. Grassel has been making a case for himself for the last couple of seasons, not with consistency, but when he does deliver, he can deliver pretty well.
And he's been pretty steady so far this season.
Yeah. If there's something that gets frustrating for people, for most of this event, I don't have a whole lot of nitpicks with the judging. I think that it gets really harsh in ice dance, but it has been for the last couple of events. But Grassel has a tendency to get away with under rotations, which can be really frustrating when you see other people get called on them all over the place. And then Grassel will have very, very obvious under rotations that do not get called. And I'm never sure what's up with that. And that was the case in his short program, where he definitely should not have been in the spot that he was after the short, just based on what he actually delivered.
Oh, no. Jason should have been ahead of him in the short, for sure.
But his free skate was a complete mess. And
yes,
I know that his conclave program is fairly divisive amongst a lot of the skating fan base. When it's good, I actually kind of like it. I mean, the I'm the Pope reveal at the end is goofy. And I don't know if it still had the Pope is dead line in it. I don't remember it this time.
I don't remember it.
I wonder if that's not
the Pope
in the
is dead. Sorry.
Yeah, that was laughably bad. I don't remember it this time. But
it may still be there, but maybe I'm just tuning it out.
I
don't know.
Just checked out, but that program was pretty checked out in general and pretty bad. So
I felt bad for him because it was one of those, like, you could tell when it was finishing, he was barely present in his own body anymore.
Yes.
Like it was not
And
good.
there were numerous places in that program where nothing was happening.
But you want to know who was great here? You want to know who my favorite person I would never have expected to be my favorite person was here? Vladimir Litvintsev. Holy crap. His Joker program is so off the rails. It's not aesthetic at all. And yet, so good. It was fantastic here. And he was fourth in the free skate, and he deserved to be.
So Vladimir from Azerbaijan is an extremely quirky skater.
Yes.
And he's one of those guys that, like, is usually kind of middle to back of the pack. He does have big jumps. He does have artistic ability, but his programs often end up being a little thin and a little odd, and he can be very inconsistent.
Yes.
Here, I thought both of his programs were very entertaining. There's a real point of view and a sensibility to them. And his Joker free skate,
I mean, what is the word I'm looking for? Wacky?
Well, it's definitely wacky. It's definitely idiosyncratic. There are sections of it where nothing's happening.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, there are several places.
There's so much telegraphing on the jumps.
Right. Yes. He is being extremely careful trying to land those jumps.
But he does.
And something I got to say here. So we've mentioned before on the show that Wendy and I were denizens of the Comic-Con scene for a long time, for years and years and years. And if you've ever been to a Comic-Con, or if you've been part of that community, you know that one of the cringiest things in that community is Joker cosplayers.
Oh, it's painful.
When you go to events, it's really Joker cosplayers and people who do
Captain Jack Sparrow
from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
And the reason why, and Adrian and I have not discussed this before right now, but I know where he's going. The reason why is because the people that do that cosplay over and over again stay in character the entire time they are at a convention. So you're never talking to a person. You're always talking to Captain Jack Sparrow or the Joker.
Yes. And the Jack Sparrows are
they're drunk.
They're just being Captain Jack Sparrow, and it wears a little thin, but
it's just annoying, but it's fine.
It's fine. The Jokers, because there's so many different versions of the Joker in the comics and in the movies and animation and stuff, can go from being like, haha, you're kind of funny like the 60s Batman, to being downright like seeming like sociopaths who cannot let go of the character. Even sometimes after hours, you're just going to have them running around areas. And it's the kind of thing that makes Comic-Cons uncomfortable for people sometimes.
Right. Like whenever you're on a convention floor and a cosplayer is staying in character, that's one thing. That's just what you expect.
Sometimes. Most of the time people just wear a costume and get pictures taken and they're just happy.
Sometimes, but I don't really mind it when you're on the convention floor.
Sure.
Or even at like a party that the convention is throwing, like a costume contest or whatever. Yeah. That makes sense. But whenever you're literally walking around outside and you're on your way to your car and there's a Joker following you.
Yeah,
and
no, that feels bad.
That feels real bad.
We've fully lost the skating audience at this point.
Sorry.
They have no idea what we're talking about. Anyway, what I mean with that is to say that I don't have very fond feelings towards Joker-ish kinds of things. I don't have very fond feelings towards those latest Joker movies as well. And yet, Vladimir goes out here with his Joker free skate, and I like it because it's so different.
It is weird, and it embraces its own weirdness. And I loved how much the crowd obviously loved it. Because, yes. I mean, it is as camp as anything I have ever seen on the ice. And I'm here for it. So, Vladimir, I'm giving you an early Gold in My Heart nominee for this week, because that was really cool.
I mean, just to give us something that felt totally different from anybody else, fully committed to the bit, a lot of fun, a true performance. Is the skating fantastic? Not really, but does it leave an impression?
Yeah.
Is the performance there? It absolutely is. And really, the other 6 guys here, we don't really need to talk about.
Unfortunately, yeah. I'm just going to keep us moving into dance. No offense to any of them. I am a big fan of quite a few of them.
I'm sure a lot of them would also not like these performances to be remembered.
You know what? That's fair. So I'm just going to leave that alone and move us into dance.
Sometimes it's just merciful.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out, and this is on a personal note, this weekend was also my and Adrian's wedding anniversary.
Yeah, 22 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So because of that, we had other stuff going on. So that's why we weren't watching these things in real time. And it also meant that because we weren't watching real time, we would come in, see some of the scores, read some of the recaps from people online and be like, we don't need to spend time on that.
Yes.
So there's some of these performances we just straight up didn't see because we didn't have that kind of time.
And we had to prioritize our love.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And nobody can criticize us for that.
That's a hint, everyone. Okay. All right, I am officially going to move us into dance now, where to no one's surprise, Madison Chock and Evan Bates easily took the title here. They actually did hit a season's best. That is also the season's best for any dance team so far on the circuit with a 2:12.58. So a good boost for them going towards the Grand Prix final for sure.
The conversation, of course, with Chock and Bates and with all of the top ice dance teams is how they're going to fall in relation with Fournier Boudre and Guillaume Cizeron. You know, that has been the question since the enormous scores that the French team got at the Grand Prix de France and the gradual decline, not even gradual, it felt like it fell off a cliff. Ever since then, it feels like all of the ice dance judging has been severe.
Yeah.
And a lot of the scores have been very low. Here, I think the question with Chock and Bates was not just, will they be able to bring their scores up higher than their first Grand Prix event, but also, will they make some adjustments to their programs? Because they always do.
And they did.
And they did. Particularly, the question was around the free skate, their Paint It Black program, which has this Matador theme going on with it. The first iteration, Madison Chock had a dress with this really long, heavy dress with this red liner inside of it. And it just felt too long, too distracting, covered her up too much. And even though she used it extremely well in their first time out, it just felt like it hid her body movements a lot of the time and looked like it drastically increased the possibility of essentially a wardrobe malfunction from getting caught up in it or something. And they clearly recognized that themselves or got that kind of feedback because they made some pretty significant changes to their costumes, including her getting a dress that I think is actually divided. It feels like it's sort of in two pieces, and it doesn't have the liner, is much, much lighter, seems a little bit shorter, moves a little bit better on the ice. She still uses it to great effect. And I can't think these are final costumes, what they were skating in.
I doubt it, but it still looked really cool.
It looked really cool, but they're in all black. And there's not enough contrast between the two of them. And so there are times when they're creating shapes or doing holds that their bodies blend together too much. And the high contrast between being dressed in all black and then being on the white ice, I just felt like they needed some more separation between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think they need a little bit more color. They are a team of constant iteration. So I am sure that they are aware of anything that they need to change. It doesn't seem like this is it. Like, those don't look like the Olympic costumes yet.
Right, yeah.
Like, I agree with you, but I do think they look awesome. And I particularly loved her pants. I thought they were super
The
rad.
pants are cool. I love the top of the outfit. I think that the previous version was maybe a little distracting. And so this is more streamlined and I think looks better overall. But yeah, I do wonder if this is like the not bedazzled version yet or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to continue to grow, but I did think these programs looked better here for sure. I'm still not 100% on that long program. I'm getting there. It's a free dance that I think I keep unfortunately comparing to like last season's, how much I loved their Take 5. They're totally different types of programs, so I really shouldn't mentally be putting those as a one-to-one. But that program just felt so good from the first time I saw it. Even though it evolved every time, from the first go, it was like, this is great. And this one, I'm like, okay, I trust you guys. It's going to be great, but I'm not there yet. And I think there's so many wonderful moments in it, like wow moments in it. It just cohesively, I still kind of feel them thinking through it a lot.
Sure.
And
this is only the second time we've seen it.
Exactly. So I'm sure by the time that we get to nationals, it's going to be amazing. What happens at Grand Prix final, though, is going to be super intriguing because that's the first time they're going to face off against Lolo and Guy. So I'm curious.
Yeah. In the second place, we get the Canadians, Marjorie Lajoie and Zach Laga. And we still have that
rhythm dance.
We have that rhythm dance, the Yay Sports Ball rhythm dance that
I just don't think is good enough for them.
No. This time, I didn't mind it as much. I was finally feeling like as much as I don't like this concept and I don't like how it looks on the outfits are cute, but I don't know. It just feels goofy. But it was starting to work for me. And then it hits the ole, ole, ole section at the end. And I was out. I was just like, guys, I really, really like you. I love your skating. I enjoy your partnership. But why this? Like,
I know.
Why this?
I was trying to just tune out the music and just focus on what they were doing, which was extraordinary. They're amazing skaters and I love them. I will say, though, as much as the White Crow free dance, the first time I saw it, this season, not like a ways back whenever they were doing it, this season is the second time I've seen it and I loved it. It went from, I felt like they weren't connected the last time to this time it was entirely connected. And I felt like they emphasized every note. They caught every beat. Everything just clicked and they looked seamless to me. I thought they were wonderful here.
It was significantly better than the first time that we saw it. And the thing I kept thinking about when we were watching the White Crow program is that they just looked professional.
Oh, yeah.
Like the performance quality, it looks way more lived in. I still don't like the music edit. And there's one lift that you loved and I felt was really unaesthetic.
I just thought it was so impressive, particularly on Marjorie's part, like the position she was holding. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like things that we see in pairs and ice dance every once in a while, is hard, even if they make it look easy, but it still doesn't mean that it's attractive. And that was the way it felt to me, where I'm like, I can see that's impressive, but I just don't like the way it looked for whatever reason. But undeniably a massive improvement over the first time and one of the most impressive skates of the event. This was a season's best for them across the board. So 77.42 in the short, 119.74 in the free dance, 197.16 overall, which I think they still looked like they clearly wanted a 200 out of
I mean,
that.
to be honest, I'm a little surprised. But like you said, the judges are scoring lower. And I felt like in another season, this would have been like a 202.
Across all of the competitions for the last like 3 of the Grand Prix, it feels like the stickler quality for things like the character step, the midline steps, certain elements on the twizzles and stuff, they're all getting called. And you know what? Good. I mean, it's a sport.
At least it's consistent, I suppose.
If they are consistent, then it's great. It should be called properly. But
it should, but I do think that there is some like, well, what do you have to do?
And that's the problem, is that when you have most teams only getting 1s or 2s in some of these elements,
and they're your best teams,
and the question becomes, what do you have to do to make the character step get to a 4? Why can nobody get more than a 2 in the 1-foot sequences? Why does nobody do the midline step sequence well? Why do these programs often look essentially flawless, and yet there are just features that these teams that have done this for years cannot seem to find? Yeah, that raises questions about how the programs are constructed and what
how
the
the scoring requirements are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm a little frustrated, and which means I'm sure they are extremely frustrated.
Yeah, I was really happy though to see the French team of Lapareva and Brosseau get on the podium here.
Yes,
I think these are the best these 2 programs have looked, even though they didn't get season's best here.
Yeah, again, similar story, different team. It's I don't quite understand some of these scoring issues, but it's a broken record. So I don't know that I need to dig into it too much. Yeah. It's just, I was a little surprised by it, but at the same time, I'm thrilled that they're third. I really am so happy that they've made the changes to that rhythm dance. I think it looks so much better.
It does. Having costumes that thematically fit really takes away from some of the cognitive dissonance that was there before.
It was almost distracting not to have it. Like, I don't always need a costume to be so literal, but when it is so not, then it's like, okay, but now it's distracting.
Yeah, it definitely was. But I liked that program a ton, and the execution of it was stronger. I thought they should have actually been in second after the rhythm. I thought that overall, as much as Lala are a terrific team, and maybe it's just my distaste for the sports ball program, I really did. And there's less than a point between them after the rhythm dance. But I just thought that Lapareva and Brosseau should have been ahead of them there. Now, I don't necessarily know that they would have, not just still ended up in third overall after the free, but their free dance to a medley of Bjork music is really, really growing on me. Hear the atmosphere of it, the way they dynamically articulate all the different elements, that incredible lift in the middle where he's got her upside down, just straight, and just
he makes that look so easy. I was just so impressed with Joffrey there. Like, it was good.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
Yes. There's just so much every one of these programs has so much happening in it. But what they're doing in that program is just fascinating to me. And like I said, atmospherically, there's something about that really works for me. But I tend to like this team in general. So Ice Dance always feels so massively subjective.
It's incredibly subjective, which actually kind of leads into the 4th place team to me, with Demoget and Le Messier from France, another French team coming in right behind their countrymen. And I feel like there is like a contingent of people who probably won't love their style, particularly in the free dance, because it is so left of center, avant-garde, whatever you want to call it. It's a thematic that I haven't seen a lot of people doing, with this like very kind of cyberpunky gamer look that they have going.
But the song is about the curse of the mummy child or something.
Yeah.
I don't, and with an Imagine Dragons song at the end,
but it looks really cool.
It looks super cool. Their costumes are awesome. They look badass. The music works on them.
And they just keep getting better this season. I think they're great.
Yeah. Yeah. In a season where being a French team that doesn't include Guillaume Cizeron is it
dangerous.
Feels fraught. Yeah. That hunt for the second spot in the Olympics feels like it's probably Lapareva and Brosseau's, but Louisa and Theo, they're not making it easy on them. They're keeping it fairly close. And I don't think anybody would have expected them to be in 4th here.
No.
I would have expected them to probably have been in like 5th but they turned out two strong performances. They were in fifth after the free, but held their spot in fourth. And I love that for them. I enjoy this team. I think the perspective of these programs is pretty awesome. So, good stuff for them, but I think fair to say, relatively surprising fifth place finish for the US's Carrera and Ponomarenko.
I'm a little concerned here on a lot of different levels with Carrera and Ponomarenko so far this season. I don't know that their material is totally working this season. I like their rhythm dance a lot, but the judges don't seem to be responding super well to it. They were in fifth place after the rhythm dance, and they even looked a little bit shook. Then the free dance happens, and they landed with a total score of 186.03. They were fifth in the world in March, and they're scoring 186.03 here without any major errors. That is a big dip, and it's got to be confusing.
They're taking a number of hits in the levels, and so that is getting them nitpicked down. But from my own perspective on these, I didn't find them as engaging, particularly in the free dance. What we'll get to after them is that, to me, the most memorable skates of this event happen much further down in the rankings.
Completely agree.
And to my mind, overshadow the performances that Carrera and Ponomarenko did here because they didn't feel very memorable. Even in this moment, I know that they're doing something different in the rhythm dance to the 90s theme, but I kind of can't separate them in my mind. They don't stand out to me.
Well, I think that speaks to the material problem. It's like their material just isn't super compelling. And they are wonderful skaters and great performers. But I do worry that they're kind of being overshadowed this season, particularly in the US. And that's got to be a little scary for them because they have been rising steadily and becoming like the solid number 2 team in the US for quite a while. And I don't know what the US is going to do right now with them. And I also know what's going on with Christina Carrera's US citizenship petition. So like I said, I'm just worried about them. I don't know what's going on.
When you look at how well Zingis and Klesnik and Green and Parsons have done, of course, Green and Parsons had to withdraw from their first Grand Prix, but
they medaled.
But they medaled at the next one and looked fantastic at that event. So, Carrera and Ponomarenko are losing ground over the course of this season, and that is a rough thing to see. But an American team that have maybe the best skate of the event, well, and there's a toss-up here, but the Brown siblings, Una Brown and Gage Brown, are in 7th after the rhythm, move up to 6th in the free, and they have the only allowed headstands in all of figure skating.
Allowed by us.
Oh, not just by us. This is I've checked the internet.
Has decided?
I've checked the internet.
Okay, cool.
Nobody liked any of the other heads. I think maybe like Metalkina's at the start.
I was going to say hers is okay.
That one is okay. But there were a number of other teams that tried to do them middle of program, and they were all bad,
all out.
And theirs actually hit and actually work. Their jump around program is a ton of fun and it really works. But the come up for me here is their Godfather program.
Oh, it was good. It was so good.
I've been skeptical of that program in the early part of the season because I felt that it was a little empty, a little underwhelming, and I think the last time that we talked about it, the note that I had on it was that Una was underperforming it. Gage was giving it everything, but Una was giving...
You mean in the character sense?
In the character sense. Yeah. Una was giving character every once in a while, but mostly just seemed to be thinking her way through it. That all changed when they got to their performance here at Skate America because they were fully invested in that. And Una was in particular so in character this time. It didn't feel like her anymore out there. It felt like the character.
I felt like I was watching a film.
Yeah.
That this was high cinema. That this was ridiculously good. From the opening pose to her flipping him over herself.
Yeah, he front flips over her, off of her back, which is so rad. I did see an interview with them where they were asked about that, and they said that they had felt the need to punch up the end of the program because it felt very plain, and I agree. I think that the early iterations of it really lost something in the last third, and they knew they needed to fix that, but they wanted to add in something with punch. And the question was why isn't Una flipping off of you? That would seem to make more sense. And they were like,
but that's the reason it would make more sense.
They spend most of the program with her. She essentially kills him at the end, right?
Yes.
So they're like, thematically, it makes more sense for her to be the one that literally chucks him, like, and it works perfectly. It's so well executed. It's so surprising. It comes out of nowhere. There's just no setup for it. It's an exciting move. I loved it. It seemed like the crowd loved it. It was,
yes.
Maybe that's not super ice dancey, but to my mind, it's that kind of thing that brings that shock and awe moment into a program that gets away from some of the really basic stuff that ice dance, and ice dance is full of incredible, everybody's doing something wacky and different from each other, but it has wow moments, but not like whoa moments. And that was a whoa moment.
It was definitely a whoa moment. It was unique. It stood out from the crowd, and Francis Ford Coppola would be proud of you.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely terrific. In seventh, you have the Moravsiks,
which had a disastrous last like 15 seconds. Oh, so sad.
Yeah, the skate was going pretty well overall, and then Katerina just goes down, just out of nowhere. And this is also a dress dance, a skirt dance.
Yep.
And Katerina is fabulous with it. I mean, the whole time she uses it like a character, and it's really strong. They did remove the lousy weird lift that they'd been doing.
It just wasn't working.
Because they kept getting falls on that because her like knee would touch down in the middle of this lift, and it wasn't working. So they did change kind of the whole bottom third of that program. And I think that it didn't feel like it was fully lived in yet. And I'm guessing that's probably why that mistake happened there.
But they looked devastated.
Yeah, it definitely broke them, because you could see that them dropping in the ranking was pretty brutal there, and not what they were obviously looking for. I should note too, we got asked about this in the comments, and I haven't had a chance to, oh my gosh, because of everything going on, we haven't had a chance to catch up with the comments, but I had not realized that in their rhythm dance, the Moravsiks had been using like an AI song. So, which was within the rules this season and gross, because we don't need more clanker AI slop anywhere, let alone getting dumped into the music in skating. But I mean, they've been using this combination of a song I couldn't recognize with Thunderstruck. You know, yay, Thunderstruck. Although that's been used a lot this season in ice dance, wackily.
Quite a bit.
But at one point I'd listened to it and I was like, I just don't know this song. And I Googled the lyrics for it, and it came back as the New Radicals. And I was like, that's not the New Radicals. I know, you know, you get what you give. I mean, that was a huge song in the 90s. But that line about every night we smash a Mercedes-Benz is in there. And I'm like, I just couldn't find the song. And then somebody pointed out that like, it seems like it was an AI gen, but it was one that had just clearly plagiarized lyrics from a bunch of other 90s songs, or at the very least from that song by the New Radicals. And that section is no longer in that cut. I think it's still some version of that AI slop, but it didn't have that specific plagiarized line. So I don't know if they got feedback on it that needed to get pulled, or why they made that decision with it.
But it's just an unfortunate thing in general.
One, it should not have been allowed anyway.
And I get like
licensing issues are a giant pain in the butt.
They're a giant pain, and it's expensive to license music, and there's a lot of barriers happening right now in skating. And it's why we have trouble watching it. Like, the music licensing problems are a giant problem in this sport, and it sucks. I think it's why you're seeing a lot more repetition of songs in general this season,
because they're what available. They're what are in the database of, I don't know if it's BMI ASCAP or whatever it is, their particular licensing model that's available to US figure skating. But it feels like the pool of music is smaller than it used to be. War horses are one thing, but yeah, when you've got people picking a lot of the same material, it feels like that they've definitely been limited.
It just sucks.
That part really stinks. But yeah, anyway, Moravsiks, not as strong here, still crazy fast, still very into their programs, but they've definitely been better.
Yeah.
The other team I think that it's worth talking about because of just how absolutely terrific their free dance was is Britain's Phoebe Becker and James Hernandez.
The Baby Brits.
The Baby Brits, their Romeo and Juliet program slaps. That is so good.
I want to punch something because like I'm so excited. I just feel like I have to like vibrate a thing. I loved their free dance so much. I know it is not as technical as everybody else's,
Sure.
and I didn't love his shirt for some reason.
The
like
colors, they're very bland color. Like when they first took the ice, we were like, oh, these new outfits they washed them out really bad, particularly him. Yeah.
Yes, and I mean, and he's such a striking dude. Like he's just a very handsome fellow.
He's got movie star kind of.
He has movie
looks,
star
yeah.
quality, and she is glorious on the ice as well. It's just I didn't love the colors. I forgot all about that after like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It was so dramatic. Their performance value. That's the thing. It's like, yes, there are plenty of places I could nitpick in terms of like she needs to extend her leg more. And there are certain placements of their hands and their holds and stuff that need work. However, I forgot entirely that they were even competing anymore. I was like, this is a performance. It's like watching the ballet. There was just something so compelling about them, their chemistry, their emotive quality, the way they sold to the audience. I'm like, this is incredible. I am in love. I think it is phenomenal. I'm gushing. I love it.
Becker and Hernandez really caught my attention last year at Worlds with their Bond program.
Oh, yeah.
And also
they caught Torvill and Dean's attention in a bigger way.
Yeah, and got them to go on the Torvill and Dean, farewell tour for like sold out venues all over the place. And I think that experience on that tour has shown up in their skating.
100%.
Like you said, technically there's a lot to gain to bring them up the rankings. They're a next quadrennial kind of team, but
for sure.
I think they're going to be going to the Olympics. So
yes.
That will be a great experience for them and set them up nicely for growth in the future. And what they did here really cements them as like a very strong candidate for team of the future because really enjoyed it. They were also like nice in the rhythm dance, but that Romeo and Juliet program, it's a perfect choice of music. Their performance quality throughout is so striking. Like you said, you just get lost.
The choreography was so thoughtful. It felt like Romeo and Juliet. Sometimes you watch one of those programs to, so many people have used Romeo and Juliet as a thematic. I mean, of course they have. This one for me just felt unique because of how tender a lot of the movements were.
Yes, there's a sequence. It's a transition between elements where they just sort of cross over, kind of sort of up and down around each other really quickly. And everything about it is so romantic. Tender's the right word for it. Like it does give this sense of gentle interconnectedness, this romantic element. It's not melodramatic. It's not over the top.
It's gentle.
Gentle, thoughtful choreography, beautifully delivered by a team who understands how to interpret that. And they get all of those movements correct throughout. They don't overskate it. They don't over melodrama it. I think that to look at like CPOM, sometimes they're over projecting, or like a group like Gillis and Poirier who are terrific, but can feel kind of over the top melodramatic sometimes. Something like this that is very character. It's not understated.
No, it feels more real.
It's tasteful and beautifully put together and just feels like choreography that has been absolutely designed to highlight what this team does magnificently. And so even though they're so far back in the pack, it's just one of my most memorable moments from this entire event because we watched it and when it got done, we were both like, oh, we were like immediately like, is this our gold in our hearts?
And then we watched the Browns.
And we're like, oh, damn. And then later we saw Star Andrews and we're like, what the hell? Like, what are we going to pick here? So even though this is like this erratic competition with a lot of super messy and forgettable or sometimes memorable for all the wrong reasons kinds of skates, the highlights are often not on the podium and are some really great highlight reel kinds of moments.
They're ones I'm going to remember past this season and beyond.
Yeah. So with all of that said,
Whew.
And with that in mind, I just said a minute ago, let's pick Gold in Our Hearts for Skate America 2025.
Oh my gosh.
Wendy, it's a tough decision from what we just talked about, but who was Gold in Your Heart?
Man, I hate picking just one because like you said, those two ice dance teams were unreal and how much I loved them. But I got to go with Star Andrews because Star is a star. She just shined so beautifully out there. I feel like that was really punny and I didn't mean it to be. She had that magic throughout, and she is just somebody who I've adored for so many years. We've all adored for so many years. So to see her have this brilliant moment on the Grand Prix, who cares if she medaled? I mean, I'm sure she cares, but it doesn't matter. She is the person I will remember coming out of this Skate America for a lot of reasons. So she is absolutely gold in my heart.
And I would totally pick her, but since you already did, that allows me to give one to somebody else.
Accolades.
And I am, tough as it is after what we just talked about in ice dance, I am going to give it to the Browns. I will give it to Una and Gage based on the sheer delight that I had from that program, because it did really take me places. I was so invested in what they were doing, and particularly just I was so impressed with Una's performance. Gage is always great, but Una leveled up in a way that I had not seen before. Even when they finished the program, even when they did their bows, they were still in character and she was still serving face and attitude. And I loved it. I loved it. So good. And it obviously meant something to them. You could see it from Gage. Like Una had it together. Gage looked like he was emotional at the end of it, but they just delivered something that I think is by the end of the season is going to be one of those programs I go back to and really enjoy. So yes.
I can't agree with everything you said more. And I do really feel like this was a very significant competition for them to like take that next step in ice dance for themselves. Like they are another team of the future, a next quadrennial team. And this I felt was a fantastic showcase of that. They're going to be folks to reckon with in all due time.
Definitely. Before we wrap this episode up, a couple of pieces of errata, a couple of things from like the last episode. We made we had some corrections.
Oh, we do have some corrections. You're right.
We had talked about the Shib-Sibs at one point and said that they had done Fix You at the Olympics. They did not do Fix You at the Olympics. That was like from 2 seasons earlier. I think they did Paradise or
yes,
Paradise
they did a different Coldplay program. And I felt like such an idiot whenever somebody mentioned that. And I was like, I am on here being like, I remember watching this at the Olympics. I'm like, no, I don't. I remember watching this at Worlds. And it wasn't correct, but it's a lot of Coldplay, and I apologize.
7 years ago and 9 years ago, and
I know, but I still felt so silly. So yes, I am sorry.
But this is the problem of like not having a full database of information in front of us, and you miss
which we should.
But also, like I was talking about how much I had enjoyed Adam Hagara, and I said I think I said that he was from Slovenia instead of Slovakia. I have a problem vocally with like, I mean, I've done it before where I'll say Chechnya instead of Czechia and Slovenia instead of Slovakia. I think you can see the closeness of those words, but like my brain glitches a little bit on stuff like that sometimes, and I got it mixed up. But regardless, Adam was absolutely terrific there, and I'm so happy for his evolution and his performances at that event. A couple of pieces of news. One that we saw from Kimi Rapond, that she has been talking about why she has not been in competition, and it looks like she is also kind of dipping out of some other challenger events. It's because she's been having an ankle problem since it looks like beginning of the year or even last year sometime.
Worlds,
and only has gotten worse. She's been going to specialists. She had been recommended surgery, but then she got some other scans on it, and maybe it looks like there might be ways to improve it without that. But basically, she hasn't been able to jump without significant pain for a while, and that has kept her off the ice and out of competition. So hoping that we'll get to see Kimi again soon and that she heals up. It also sounded like there might have been some other issue in her personal life that she said she couldn't talk about at the moment. I don't know what that means offhand. I'm hoping it's nothing bad or scary, but that does.
Just wishing her all the best and hoping whatever that is better soon.
Yes. The last thing is there's a post and video from Czechia's Nat Taschlerova that she released on Instagram. And I think it's really worth your time to go check it out.
100%. Please do.
The video is Nat talking about how she has been struggling over the last couple of years with eating disorders and trying to keep a healthy athletic body while also conforming to the standards that are impressed upon, particularly women in this sport. The pushback that she has gotten from coaches and judges and fans and the greater internet community and the commentary on her body as it has changed over time.
It's infuriating. I mean, as a woman, as a person, it is infuriating because she is so incredible and working so hard. So yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's her talking about the changes physically that have happened to her. It's a lot to go into, and I don't want to speak for her.
No.
I'll try to remember to link it in the post for this, but it's definitely something to go check out because it's a good reminder that the athletes in this sport are already doing superhuman things and the demands on them are incredible without adding in the extra layer of this constant scrutiny on them physically in ways that are unrelated to their performance. And we've even seen it a couple of times in our own comments over the last couple months. And again, like I've said, because of some of our own stuff happening, I have not really had the time to dig into all of our YouTube comments. I need to catch up on that soon. But even back a couple of episodes ago, there were a few people that I think don't normally show up in our comments that showed up because of the people who were in those particular events and came in with a lot of pretty frustrating commentary about some of the other women and their physiques and how it made them look on the ice. And there is just not room for that.
There is none. Zero.
It's such a toxic thing that exists around women in any space that they're supposed to conform to some sort of idyllic version that has been imposed upon them. And
yeah,
these athletes are out there doing extraordinary things, stuff that most of us couldn't. I mean, I could fall once on the ice and I'd be done for months, right? And they have to go through extraordinary pain and challenge and
they're already judged so much
yeah.
for what they are doing. And then adding on to that, your own opinion of what they look like. I'm really grateful that you're the one talking about this because I think you're doing much more eloquently than I would because it makes me so angry. And I send all of my empathy to Natalie Taschlerova because she does not deserve any of that.
The thing that does make me happy is we had noted before that the Taschlers changed their coaching situation over this last summer, and they are now training with the Finnish teams. And
they seem to be thriving.
They absolutely do. And it's very clear that in particular, they have become besties with Jukka Orihara and Juho Pirinen, which has just been wonderful to see. They're so cute and so fun together. And they all just seem like they're joined at the hip, which is hilarious. But in general, it sounds like that shift was in part because they needed to go to an environment that was healthier for Natalie. And we also know that Philip deals with depression and has his own struggles as well. So it's just so important to remember that sport is a great pursuit, but it is not everything. And destroying your life and your body and your health for it, particularly just so that it can appease other people's expectations, is not what any of this is about.
Nope.
So it's just a reminder in the commentary, whether it's in our own comments or out there elsewhere, evaluate people on the performances they did on the ice, but remember that they are human beings, and also remember that it doesn't require some sort of idealized skinny body to do these things, and that everybody functions differently, and it is not always healthy for a person to be in that kind of shape, that many people are more powerful. I mean, look at gymnastics, how that has changed over the years, where the way that the women are built in gymnastics now is radically different than they were, say back in the 90s. When I first got into gymnastics in the 90s, everybody was a stick figure.
They were also all 13, 14, and 15.
Well, exactly. Yeah. They were all underage and frankly abused, right?
Yeah.
And now in the age of Simone Biles and everybody who's kind of come up in the time since then, and now you have a very different kind of physicality, and they're powerful and incredible and empowered, or at least you hope they are.
I always hope they are.
Yeah. And so just in general in this sport, I want people to be healthy. I want them to be cared for. I want them to be safe. And I want them to be able to compete in their body as their body is supposed to be, and not based on the BS commentary from other people who need to keep their nose out of it.
Well said, honey.
So with that, we have one more event left, the Finlandia trophy.
Awkward transitions.
Finlandia trophy, otherwise known Cup of Blood. It's going to be a bloodbath.
It's going to be a bloodbath, especially when you look at ice dance.
Ice dance is going to be savage.
It will be savage. And also, as a reminder, this is the last event, meaning this is where all of the final placements for the Grand Prix final get solidified. And in ice dance, there are 3 remaining spots that are available. And here we are going to see Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier. We're going to see the aforementioned Taschlerova and Taschler, Olivia Smart, Tim Deek, Yuka Arahara, and Yuho Purinen, who we adore. But we will also see Laurence Fournier-Boudre and Guillaume Cizeron. Yeah, and that's not to mention Alex and Maya Shibatani, Amelia Zinkis and Vadim Kolzhnik, the Browns, Davison Smolkin, and the Baby Brits. What the hell? This is insane.
They just jammed everybody. It's like the ISU planned out the rest of the Grand Prix and then got to Finlandia and they're like,
we forgot all of these.
Well, let's just shovel everybody else into this final.
The hell.
Ugh,
My gosh.
Yeah.
In pairs, we're going to see Hassan Volodin making their play to make sure that they solidify their spot at the Grand Prix final.
Hopefully they look stronger at this one. They did have some struggles last time.
I know. Efimova, Mitrofanov, Kamen O'Shea. And I'm excited to see Nagoka and Morguchi again. Like, that'll be really cool.
And they were so good last time. They should have been on the podium.
I know. I really loved them. Women's is also going to be somewhat of a bloodbath. We're going to see Luna Hendricks, Mona Chiba, Rion Sumiyoshi, Amber Glenn, all making that potential pitch for their spot at the Grand Prix final, amongst others. And in the men's, we get Adam Shohim-Fa versus Yuma Kageyama. And throw in Jason Brown and a whole bunch of other good people. So it's all going to be crazy.
Yeah. So we're going to be in the thick of it with the next one. So until then, let us know in the comments how you felt about this event. Did you watch all of it? Which commentary did you watch? If you were in the States, did you watch it with the NBC? And what was your kind of feeling about that? Did you watch the ISU feeds?
I would love to actually hear more about that from anybody that was listening to Johnny and Tara, because it was so radically, I know it was jarring to a certain degree.
Yeah, and we used to always watch the NBC feeds. But since we've made that shift to the ISU, it's just really difficult to go back. But yeah, let us know your feelings on it. Who was gold in your heart? How are you feeling about the way that the Grand Prix is shaking up? Did we make any mistakes in this one? I'm sure there's somewhere in there we probably have
inevitable.
One. Yeah, it's always going to happen. And then join us after the Finlandia trophy when we finally know who's going to be headed to this Grand Prix final. And for Choreography, I am Adrian Buskey.
I'm Wendy Buskey.
And we will talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.